G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a H&K G3A3. This is a weapon in real life of German design, first developed around the 1950s, which in terms of the Fallout canon and then the lore, I think our universe is diverted after the World War II ended. So whether this thing actually exists in universe, not really sure. Maybe it exists in the form of the R91 assault rifle, which this thing is probably the inspiration of. And if you're not sure what the R91 assault rifle is, it's the Fallout 3 assault rifle. The differences are this thing looks a lot cleaner, looks a lot more realistic because obviously it's the thing that is derived from. But this thing, like I said, fires the heavier caliber. The R91s fire the 5.56s. But there's a couple of things. I noticed that there's a groove on this grip that is very pronounced on the R91. The stock design is very similar. The handguard here right now is very similar, and there's also this prominent sort of groove in the middle of the weapon like that. That thing is very prominent on the R91, so I guess that's where the inspiration was from. I must say that this thing looks a lot better in its actual real life form. So lore friendly, I don't know, that's up to you. Let's get into the attachments, and first of all we've got the receivers. Generally we always go for the receivers first. But this has basically got the same as you'd get out of any other vanilla game weapon, or mostly all the other mod weapons. So you've got advanced for the rifleman for the most damage, and auto powerful for the commando version, most powerful. And we'll go for an auto powerful though. We want to grab an advanced receiver and have a semi-auto sniping one a little bit later on. Now, we've got a legendary slot here. I don't know why the legendary slot comes in second most of the time. I don't know if this sorting thing... Maybe it's because the receiver's always got to be first, but then everything's prefixed with the square bracket. Maybe that's why. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Anyways, for the muzzles, you can chuck on some flash hiders if you want. You can also chuck on some muzzle brakes to control the recoil a little bit. And the recoil on this thing, despite firing the big heavy round, isn't that bad. Mainly the thing that'll throw you off is the visual recoil. The animations that this thing produces when it recoils is going to throw your aim off a little bit. You've also got a bunch of suppressors, which I will say yes please, thank you very much, I will see you later. For the magazine, you've got a bunch of these things, mostly just the same ones with quick ejects and alternate reloads if you want to choose from a couple of different things. I'll be swapping through most of these as we go along, so we'll get to see both of the reloads. So we'll just go for the standard one, quick eject, and then for the next one we'll grab the alt reload so you can see that too when we get around to it. You've also got a big drum mag which holds 11 rounds. It's horrible looking, but you know, it's good for ammo capacity. Next up, you've got the grip, which is a pistol grip. You can make it black if you want, and you can also have the G3SG1, which I suppose is a more modernized version, but we'll get to that in a second. So depending on how you want it, you can have it black or this sort of green color. It's up to you. And you can have sights on this, which will sort of add this tactical rail. It'll actually screw it onto the side there. Is that with Phillips head screws? Looks like it. Maybe it's riveted. Who knows? But you can have a bunch of things, including Aerotex, the Cobra red dot sights. That's the Russian ones. And there's OKP. I think that's also a Russian one. T1s, PK, that's also Russian. Plenty of Russian sights on this, as well as a couple of holographics with magnifiers. And that. You've also got some lower aiming scopes things, and this is a 3.4 times scope in the Battlefield games. That's cool. Obviously we know what an ACOG is, we've already seen plenty of those in mods. And then as you scroll further down, you get higher magnifications of scope. Now what you can do, funnily enough, is actually make this an infiltrator. If you go for a hunting scope and then pretty much saw off the stock, make the barrel as short as possible, you can get yourself an infiltrator like the ones from Out of the Pit DLC from Fallout 3. But what I want to do is probably grab just a standard Aerotech on this, just because it's a Western sight and I think it'll work a little bit better on a German weapon. Now for the stocks, you can make it a wood stock, which makes it even more reminiscent of the R91. That's kind of cool. And you can have a G3SG1, which gives you a little bit of a cheek rest there. You can have a collapsing one, which you can have it folded in or folded out if you want, and a CTR stock, and basically these ones will just give you slightly better recoil control and less spread, I suppose. So we'll go ahead and grab that on, and we've actually unlocked yet another slot because there's a paint you can chuck onto that if you want to change the color of it. If you want it to make it match the grip or the handguard there, you can change the colors accordingly. See? So you can have it stock green, which doesn't appear to make too much of a difference, or tan if you want to make this thing look a little bit more tan. We'll keep it like that. We've already changed the grip. We'll change the magazine. No, we've already done that. So it's hard to keep note of where you're actually at when the thing is shifting your things around like that. Now, you can change the barrel. Normally, when you change the barrel with weapon mods, it'll actually change the handguard as well, but these are two separate ones, so you can have a long-ass barrel there to have better recoil. Although, if you chuck on the short barrel, it says superior recoil, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the higher weight of the barrel and the longer way that it goes to burn up the powder. I don't know how that works. Maybe that's a balancing thing, but the PSG-1 barrel gives us an amazing amount of range, which will increase our accuracy in VATS. So that'll probably be the way to go for this thing. Generally, you want your range to be the highest as possible, no matter what. Even if it does slightly penalize your AP cost, that's definitely the way to go. And you can change the handguard. So like the Infiltrator in Fallout 3, you can change that to black if you want. That obviously matches a lot better now. You can have the different handguard here. One with a bipod if you want, and one with a bipod folded up, and a different one. Plenty of customization. You can also grab some with Picatinny rails, which will allow you to put grips and stuff on the bottom. And you'll note that I've actually unlocked a bunch of other stuff that I can chuck on now that I couldn't earlier. So, yep, we'll throw the laser on. You can also have a flashlight. And on the lower rails, you may put a grip on if you feel necessary. Let's use that one. There's angled grips like you'd find in Battlefield 4. That's very nice. And then there's stubby grips as well. Basically, they're just there. A lot of them have the same function, but customization for the sake of customization is nice. I won't say no to that. And we can chuck a flashlight on the side if we want. It's complete overkill on the, I guess, customization, but we're doing this, and you can't make me stop. And I think that's about it. You can change the body from the G3 to a G3S, and that'll just make it look slightly different, slightly more modernized, clean up the material a little bit, probably because it's a little bit newer, and it definitely does look more modernized if you have them sort of side by side. But we'll keep this as a G3A3, and that's it. Damage modifier as well, but we won't be using it because we're doing 207 with a suppressor. I think we'll be just fine. We'll craft a couple more of these, and I'll show you where to get a unique variant. Worth mentioning that if you want to get this thing without any of the hassle, you may craft them on a chemistry workbench, so you can get the G3 and a HK51, which is just a little babby one. I'll show you that in a second. Also, Radstorm. It's also worth mentioning that you can get your hands on patches that allow this to be injected into the leveled list via script, so you'll find them on enemies and in vendors as well. So if you don't want to craft them, you can find them more organically using those patches. The HK51 is basically the same thing, but it's a more compact variant, generally not produced by factories. The people just make these modifications by themselves. Basically, you got the same modifications here, so you know what we're doing. Gotta say, it is kind of a shame that you can't give it wooden furniture on the handguard to match the stock. Okay, so here we are outside of the Old Gullet Sinkhole. Map reference is here. We've got Bunker Hill down there. We've got the Saugus Ironworks. There's the Slog, Finch Farm there. So around this neck of the woods. And one of the unique variants is nearby. So let's grab it. And there's some Stingwings over there. So gotta terminate them with extreme prejudice, right? Note how I said that the recoil animations kind of make this sort of hard to use when using full auto, which I guess would be like that in real life, but What you want to do to grab this unique variant is avoid the water because it's got a strong current. But if you go over here, there should be a G3 right there. I can't see it, but it is right there, right in front of the steamer trunk. There you go. And you pick it up. You are a horrible person if you use this weapon. Righto. Yes, I know that there's a Deathclaw here. He's actually friendly, though. He's just vibing. I'm gonna shoot him anyway. So yeah. Okay, so here we are in the inside of Gunner's Plaza. Slapping that HK. This is the one that I made on the workbench earlier before. You'll note that the foregrip, it's got no animations in first person nor in third person, which is a little less attention to detail than I'm used to with most, but you know, the stats of still reducing recoil are still there, so that's okay. This is my sniper one with a big scope and a long barrel and a suppressor. This is the one that I used in the first clip. Tried to make that one look like an R91. Did okay. This is the HK51, so the smaller version, the carbine version, I suppose. This here is an infiltrator, like the ones from the Pit DLC in Fallout 3. And I'm a horrible person for using this one, but we'll just have to see about that now, shall we? And we'll start off using this one because it's got the hollow sight and a suppressor. We'll get a few sneak attack criticals on these guys just to start things off a little bit quickly. Because once that wears off, well, we're back to shooting with regular old damage. Luckily for me, the reload is nice and fast, so despite having a magazine size of only 20, I can pop a mag in very, very quickly indeed, meaning there's no gigantic gaps in my DPS, which is nice. He goes down in one shot. Took his head off. Suppressing fire on that one. We'll come around. Looks like we managed to pick him off as we were trying to flank him. This one, he'll go down. And that guy's using a melee weapon, so why not use the bash function here? That's what it looks like. The bash animation is so slow that I recover my AP by the time I can go again, so isn't that kind of interesting? Now we're going to use the sniper. They're all see-through scopes, by the way, so you'll need see-through scopes to actually use these scopes. But it doesn't look like the recoil on this thing is to this thing's detriment. It doesn't seem as bad when you've zoomed in this far. Maybe it's because the sights aren't in the way, but this is doing a good job at sniping these gunners, taking off heads left and right. That's all good. And since you've got this thing's not like the TV view of scope, you got a different button for toggling your holding breath, so that should be noted. And it looks like well, I'm trying to demonstrate that it works, but it's still going around. That's kind of weird. I don't know why it's doing that. We get sniper knockdowns though. That's very important. We'll have to utilize that later. Let's switch over to a more compact version because that makes sense. We're in close quarters, so let's not have all of the fatigue of, there's a nice HK slap, of carrying a big heavy rifle around in the close quarters. We want to be close and tight and maneuverable in these locations. Bugger off, I'm not done with you. Not done with your friend yet. I'll shoot that guy first. There we go. So it looks like you can get a decent amount of damage done if you're hitting for mostly headshots. And despite me complaining about the recoil animation, it seems to be accurate enough to meaning that near enough on your aim is good enough. Also, you might notice how that was only doing 36 damage. A quirk that I've found with these weapons is that a lot of them don't have a lot of range. Like, even my sniper one, that's got plenty of range. This thing only has 95 range. Obviously, the shorter barrel and the suppressor is going to bring that down. But, yeah, definitely sort of a close quarters thing. The Nocturna one that I picked up, that's the one that's got bad range. So that's 11 range. So I'm going to be doing half damage basically all the time because 11 range is within Blitz level 1 distance. It's not good. So, unless I get that one to workbench, I probably won't be using it ever. But that's it for Gunner's Plaza. Let's go shoot something else. Alrighty, I'm in the mood for fighting a lot of mutants. This here is an infiltrator. It's just got a big scope and a short barrel. It's very counterintuitive, but what are you gonna do? And I noticed that I haven't really used this thing in VATS yet, and the accuracy here doesn't lend itself super well, but it's got a lot of damage, so throwing the criticals on is going to do a lot of good. And we've got a bunch of glowing mongrels here, which is not the most interesting enemies in the world, but there's a lot of scoop rattle going on. Oh no, they're basic settlers. They'll get torn apart by a glowing rabid doggos. They'll get ya. And we'll get a bass kill there just to save some bullets, which I can make it will, so maybe that was less efficient than I first thought. Anyways, there's a super mutant, and he's a warlord. He'll go down in very few shots because we're in close, and we can full auto these guys with a 4.4 times multiplier on board. That's very nice. We'll do it so quietly that we'll try to do this. Never mind. We're going to try to do this without making them blow up, but we did in the end. What can you do? And without those glorious sneak attack criticals, as you can tell, there's a big damage difference. I'm not going to bash this guy. We'll just do that. And a Mutant Slayer's laser rifle. And we may as well pick up the caps too. Good cashy. Well, at least the legendary drops are context sensitive. Righto, we're on the inside of the Fallon's department store here, so we'll try to make some use out of the sniper variant because the sight lines are gonna come at right open here. Nice 1300 and 1700-ish damage on that guy. Very good. This guy will go down much the same, even though there was brutally chest shots there. We've got this guy on the patrol. We'll take his head off before he can alert the other guy. We hit that guy so hard that he tried to T-pose, but don't worry, you're dead now. He didn't get to flex on us. He tried to play it cool after being sneak attack critted with a 308. He did alright. It was a valiant effort, but he just couldn't make it in the end. And there's old mate. So even the semi-auto variants of this still have a decent rate of fire, and they're controllable enough that it's not super hard to figure out where the bullets are going to go. Anyways, we'll try to get these guys in caution. That's okay. That guy's got a hammer. What is his plan? He has to run all the way around to here to get me. To which he's decided he's not going to bother. Okay, time to be a horrible person because I'm using this. So it's got the nocturnal prefix on it, and stop that. You're making the radial blur thing happen. Now I can't see anything. You know what? You're getting some VATS treatment because I've been neglecting it this entire video. Which I think can be said to the weapon's credit, because if I'm not using VATS, I don't have to rely on different tools to get damage. So apparently that is a knockdown despite using iron sights, which is nice. There's a nice 308 thing. We've launched all of our criticals on the one guy. Still didn't kill him. We'll have to get you to sit down again, friend. And stay down. Alright. So that worked out well in the end, despite everything. And we're even missing a few dudes down below here. There are faster ways to deal with super mutants, so let's go loud and proud for the last ones. I think the sounds are pretty spot on to what the sounds were like on the R91s back in Fallout 3. It's got that ping sound, that big metal clang when you fire it, which, you know, for a 308 sounding thing, I think there are worse fire sounds that I've heard. But nothing can beat the Battlefield 3 G3A3s. They sounded like M60s in that game. Big chunky firing. Kind of like how the Pantera band, they've got big chunky riffs. It's kind of like that, but in gun form. Very nice. And we've got one more warlord here, so we'll take this guy down. Maybe we'll aim a little bit higher. Gotta get those all-important headshots. And we managed to get the headshot in the end because he's got no face anymore. Just like we prefer our mutants, with no heads and not conscious. Let's move on. And for my next trick, I'm going to be taking on the entire NCR, but just with one head, because, you know, the symbolism of a bear with two heads pulling in too many different directions. Oh boy, the recoil is real. Luckily, we're firing at Imperial Star Destroyers, so we're unlikely to miss. They're big boys. And there's a bunch of other legendary dudes around. Good thing there's a hit marker in the middle of the screen anchoring my focus, because boy oh boy, it's hard to bloody see. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's switch over to this one. Yes, that's some good DPS right there. We'll keep you nice and held back. And you know what? Pretty time to get me crits back, which I only get 3 shots with this. With the amount of damage, sure, I can accept that. That was a good amount of damage, but we kind of need those crits back. So, again, if you please. Yay! Alright, that's doing really well. And now we're on, but not actually, because messed up pathing. No, he's out of here. Alright. I guess we'll just chase him down, and we'll keep firing bullets into him. And there he goes. And the bear taking out as easily as that. Unfortunately, there's no, like, dudes wearing skirts in this game. Actually, that's fortunate. So we can't take on the Legion, but, you know, the NCR would smash the Legion anyway. So, you know, if we can beat the NCR, we can beat the Legion. This I'm sure of. Okay, the year is 2008. It's Fallout 3. You've just bought it, and you're playing around with it. And you've found your first assault rifle, and you got to go through a raider compound. So here we are. There's some raiders. We'll start shooting them. Don't worry about that guy in power armor. Power armor didn't exist like that back in Fallout 3. But we should probably find some cover, because there's a lot of dudes shooting at me right now. Let's not pick up any bad habits that might screw me over next time I play Battlefield, like standing in front of grenades. Or we could just kill them like that. Part of the reason I suck at infantry so much is because I played too many Fallout games, which allow me to develop very bad habits that cause me to die all the time. Also, the fast time to kill screws me over because I'm used to nuclear winter still, even though I haven't played that in yonks. Spotlight down. And even the Raider veterans go down within a few shots. And who should I see? It's the Mirelurk Queen. She goes down in just a few shots thanks to the abilities of Stealth Commando, but like at a distance, right? Playing games with me, huh, she says. I mean, yes. That's precisely what I'm doing. And a cheeky little bash kill there. But the Mirelurk killing is not done yet. We'll bring out our infiltrator again, because on the horizon lies a big target. Big threat. And despite this thing having pretty poor recoil animations, we might just use this thing in VATS. We can be fairly accurate with it. I'm hoping for some sneak criticals. We might be in a little bit of trouble here if we don't get them. Oh yeah, we're in super danger now. Okay, so we've only got 900 308s left at this point, so we're going to run over here. Just ignore the hesitation there. That wasn't me, that was the keyboard. Having problems recently. I think it's the heat. The heat's got something to do with it. Anyways, we're in danger now. The sea, it's a bit wet, would you believe? And we'll go ahead and shoot this guy in the face a billion times. That's nice. 206, we'll throw a critical in there. 420 on the burst. What is that? Like 4, 8, 1200. Alright, he's mutated at this point, which means he's going to be attacking me for much higher amounts of damage. Fortunately, he doesn't gain a lot of defense while doing that. So, we'll continue to spam criticals in the face until we're out of bloody action points. I like how the VATS camera completely freaks out when something's just a little bit too big. A big whiff there. Now, potentially to our advantage here is that we can actually stagger this guy. Most of the dudes are not immune to stagger, actually are immune to stagger, but this one isn't, and that's Nerd Rage, so game over, pal. Oh, that's good. Although the stagger might be screwing me over a little bit there because I was getting consistent headshots, then he sort of flinched. Let's get some guaranteed shots here, shall we? According to VATS, this will do it, but if I happen to get a critical just to send it home, I'll utilize that. And that should be about it after a quick reload. And he goes down. And not a moment too soon, I'll tell you that much. Too late. Flowing lobster man. Too late. Anyways, so that was about it. And he dropped us a powerful mole miner gauntlet. Right. Looks like he's got connections to the duping gulpers from the West Virginian plains in the mire, I guess. Anyways, so that there was the G3A3 and GS something. I forget the name, but it's basically a G3A3. I would highly recommend getting this mod. If there's a link, if there's an Xbox variant of this, it'll be linked in the description. But if you are interested in seeing this thing in your game, I would highly recommend picking it up because there's not a whole lot of very high quality mods out there for a very hard hitting, fast firing assault rifle. And granted, there are faster firing weapons than this. I still think this is sort of got a niche in and of its own where it's just this hard-hitting battle rifle type weapon. There are a bunch of Scar H mods out there, but if they don't tickle your fancy like the HK German stuff will, then definitely want to go and pick this up. And the versatility is this weapon provides you is great too, and I'm trying to have the weapon pulled up a bit, but looks like that's the best I'll get. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Also, the follower, the person I'm playing as, she's a follower. She can be on any platform. They'll be linked in the description too.